My hat! This is interesting. So this is the same, well, the part, it shows it's the same rotor as the 25.5. And I forgot to measure the other one, but I'll measure this one. Approximate measurements. All right, so we're looking at just over 24, so about a 24.3. And this is about a 12.3, so 12.27. All right, there we go. Now, one of the things I do like about these rotors, so much more, this is based on what I saw on the 25.5, because that's the first motor that I looked into. But the way these are balanced is they remove material. So they have this collar here, and then material is removed in order to balance the rotor. Usually, what I've seen, I don't have a rotor, well, so let's see, I think, oh, well, let's see. Oh, well, you can't really see. It's in the box. This is a Hobbywing rotor, but many companies, what they do is they'll add material in order to balance. So you'll notice that epoxy there. So that's what a lot of them do. They'll lighten everything, and then they'll add material to balance. Muchmore will do the opposite. Muchmore will just have full material, then start removing material in order to balance them. Oh, interesting. It's a different way of doing or accomplishing a similar goal. I would say, well, in this case, I would say it's the same goal because the goal is to balance it out. So let's see. So power. Right. I'm going to see what the strength of this one is. And luckily, I have the other rotor, and then I have the data on the other rotor, so I can also compare that. But here we go. So everything's zeroed out. And I am going to spin the rotor, just so I can get an average. I would say these are pretty close to the other one. The other one, I believe, was 1768, 1776, something like that. So it's in the weather here. So here, let's see. There, you can see the numbers a little better.
The end pull on this motor is not as smooth really as the Hobbywing. So the Hobbywing is definitely a lot smoother. The way to set this, for some reason it comes set at 30 degrees. Most other brands generally set their motors close to it would be optimal for that particular motor, based on the motors that I've gotten and that I can recall. This one is always set at 30 for some reason. Now the end bell said 30, but it actually read, I believe it was 26 degrees. I didn't even bother recording it because it was drawing 1 amp. Oh, maybe that's why. Maybe they set it to where it draws 1 amp, because the 25.5 was set at 1 amp. This one was as well. So that could be it. But the sweet spot for this motor, if you want to be close to a 5 amp draw, is right where the end bell says 50. You want to try to line up that line as much as possible, and you will be at about 47 degrees of timing average, and there you'll be close to 5 amps. I finally set this one at 5.1 amps. Which is 47, slightly different spread, as you will see on the table. But overall, the construction is beautiful. One of the most beautiful motors I have seen. And this is the data for the 21.5 here for the Muchmore. Now, I ended up leaving it here, so off camera I did this run, just kept playing with it, and it was somewhat annoying, to be honest, because I was really trying hard. But I got it 5.1. To be honest, the timing spread is better here, I would say, versus here. I mean, these two are close, but these are farther away. But I'm closer to 5. But, you know, kV, not really. So either one. But the less amps, the less heat. That's the reason why I want to go get as close to 5 as possible. So I'm going to use this number. It's about 2,800, just above, right? 2821. And it's all right. It's all right. So if we compare it to the R1, I mean, it's a lot faster than the R1. It doesn't even compare. This is 57 degrees. I was way over timing. R1, this motor here, you want to run in a non-spec class. So if you can run timing, this motor is awesome. for running a bunch of boost or turbo. That's why. But let's compare it to the Helix. So the Helix 5.1, there's a 5.1. We're looking at 2849. To be honest, the difference is in the weather. It really is. Here we have 2952 at 5.5. This one sort of drops off. But if your goal is to get as close as possible to 5, it's in the weather. Both of them are very well matched motors. Maybe I'll try this one. We'll see. We'll see. I might test this one in my touring car at some point. This one I'm currently running in my Mini. Am I running in my Mini? Oh, no. I just swapped it. No, I'm running this in my touring car right now. I swapped the Hobbywing. That's what I'm doing. But now, if I compare it to G4, G4 is a very good motor. I don't really have anything around 5. But both of these motors, if we take this 5.8, both of these motors have more kV than the Hobbywing, slightly less timing as well, which is a good thing. So here, I love the Hobbywing because it runs so cool. Phantom Helix, they're very, very similar at this point. I almost feel like this is splitting hairs. Cooling, really nothing special. But I guess I'll try this one. I can always run this one and see how this one runs because it's 28.1. Let's see, 2886, 5.4, 47 degrees versus this. So higher kV, less timing, less amps. So I'm definitely going to try the Muchmore and see how it performs. Based on these numbers, it should actually do better than the Hobbywing. And as far as cooling, they both have full laminations, and that's something that I used to really love about, I still love about the Hobbywing, which I really like about the Muchmore. So thanks to Speed Demon for turning me into this brand and just asking questions about it. And that's really what convinced me to buy this motor and then just test it out. So hopefully in the future I'll have my review on Muchmore and see how this motor runs. Price as of this video was about $130, $140. So a little more expensive than the above motors that tend to run about 110, 120, 100, 110, 120, depending on the motor that you get. But this is it. These are the numbers. So very close match, I would say, to the Phantom Helix. I am hoping it outperforms the Hobbywing, just based on the numbers. If it doesn't, I'll be very surprised. Now, I am going to mention the following. Hobbywing has a much better end bell. Just the timing is a lot easier to set on the Hobbywing, a lot smoother. The Muchmore 21.5 and 25.5, both of them it almost catches. So when you go into tightening, it wants to spin the little timing bell. So you need to use your fingers, but then you can accidentally shift it one way or the other, and that's where you start getting these spreads. Here versus the Hobbywing, it is a lot easier to align and get more even numbers, as you can see here. Slightly better numbers, slightly better spreads. Well, let's look at the Gauss. And the Gauss, I have 2 rotors now for this particular brand, and it's the same part number. Oh, I was already there, sorry. Let's go right over here, so Muchmore. So this is the one in this motor, right over here. Slightly less Gauss than the other motor, but not bad. So same part number, spread, not too bad. Again, it's in the weather, so these are pretty good. And as far as rotors are concerned, that are these dimensions, well, I don't know. I guess if I compare them to any rotor, they're generally stronger than any other rotor that I have here listed. These, I don't remember if these are, I would have to check to see if these are 12.3s or 12.5s. On the Hobbywing, these are 12.5s, which generally means a little more torque, slightly less kV, but then again, they're weaker rotors. So a weaker rotor will generally spin a little faster. You'll get less torque. You'll feel it once you drive it. But I hope this information is useful, or at least entertaining. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
What? Oh, my hair! My arm! My rod!